Guys, I'm going to be honest with you. If you would like to be better understood in American English, then you need really better understand how to use your body. And today, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be talking about how to use your body, some specific hand gestures that are going to make your communication skills in English much better understood to your listener. Good morning, guys. Good evening. Good afternoon. Welcome to your daily American English pronunciation show. Everything's far away. There it is. Wake up, America. We are here Monday through Friday, right around 7:30 or 8 o'clock to make sure that you can get in your 5 or 10 minutes of pronunciation practice for today because, if I'm being honest, that's what it takes. It takes showing up for yourself. I have to show up for myself in order to get better at whatever it is I'm trying to get better at, right? And so we are here Monday through Friday to help you out with that process, to guide you in that process. In fact, there is me. Hello, my name is Jeff. It rhymes with breath, which is one of the four keys to a natural sound in American English, including placement, pitch, breath, trying to weaken your consonant sounds and strengthen your vowel sounds. And we got a different angle today because I need to make sure you can see me a little bit better. Unfortunately, a lot of times when I'm doing these streams and classes, like you can't kind of see the full picture. I'm kind of an expressive person. I'm a quiet person, but I'm also very expressive. I notice, for instance, because when I studied abroad in Italy they do a lot of like, this and this. And when I came back to the US, I kept using those things because when I was in Italy, I was pretty much using Italian, 99% of the time, really trying to get into the culture there. And it takes time to kind of warm down and like shift to different cultures. Like coming back home, it took a couple months for me to kind of stop using a lot of the Italian gestures and things. But I want you to be sure that you're also incorporating your body in your speech when you're speaking in American English. Obviously, that's the point of our channel. But also maybe even in your first language, start building some awareness of what your body is communicating, because I'm going to be honest with you that your body is saying things about your communication that your voice is not. And they can be either complementary and kind of work together, or they can actually feel very disingenuous and make people trust you less in your communication. And I definitely don't want that to happen. So let's talk about some things I want you to be mindful of the next time that you talk in any language, not just English, in any language, okay? Just want to say some quick hellos. We got Milad here, Ganshim's here, Mattia is here, Z is here, and Harrier's back. It's been a minute. Okay, so let's just talk about some fundamental things that I want you to consider when you're speaking. These are mostly going to involve things like your hands, but we'll also go into some quick things about your face and shoulders and things like that as well. Let's begin with the difference between having like your hands open like this, like if you're like saying some idea or something like that, and like you just want to like kind of keep going. This is a friendly sort of thing to convey message in a more positive, light way. It can also appear slightly weaker and more vulnerable. So if you're like, if you're talking, you just want to like kind of do something with your hands, that's one option you can do. Something like that. Okay, kind of just like going. The opposite of that would be, instead of having your palm up and open, things become a lot more assertive when your palms go down. Like, for instance, if I'm making a point and another point and another point, I might do something like this, where again, my palm, this is your palm facing down. Okay, just that little movement can be pretty helpful in terms of conveying ideas. So like, hey, like, I think this could work. This is an option, right? No, that's not going to work. We're not doing that. Okay, you can kind of see and feel, hopefully, those little differences between those things. Hello to I Can Fly. They're back. Great to see you as always. So first thing to talk about with your hands, palm up, palm down, just those little differences in tone that they can convey in American English. And you may find that there's actually some similarities between this and in your first language. See what I'm doing? Right? What is this? Oh my God, what is this guy doing? Okay, so this is pointing. I see Sam is here as well. What's up, Sam? Good to see you. Okay. Pointing can be really helpful. It's like, oh, it's over there. Or like, This point's really important. I really need you to remember this. However, we have to be careful with pointing because when I start doing that at you, that is very, very aggressive. Okay, but there's times where maybe I need to indicate someone. Like there's like a crowd of people, but I need to really hone in on a single person. Right. So what can I do for that? Well, maybe instead of like pointing like this, something I can do is if you take your thumb and if you put it on your index finger, like right here, put your thumb on top. Do that. This is a friendlier way to point. You're still indicating a direction to a degree, but it's much less aggressive than this. Yeah, I know we're in a two-dimensional space. It looks 3D, but we're 2D, so it's kind of hard to see the depth perception, right? But let's do this maybe. It's like difference between like this, if I'm pointing maybe at you over there, versus this, where I'm pointing at you over there. Okay, so it's kind of watching out for those sorts of things. And in fact, look at it, like this sort of movement. Like if you're like kind of like talking through an idea and like you're not done talking and there's like a cycle to it, you might want to indicate that cycle with your hands. You can do something like that, a little kind of movement like that to indicate everything's in motion. Okay, and look how I changed it, right? So you can do it with your hands. You can also do it pointing. So like, hey, if you're explaining an idea, maybe you want to do it like this. And then when you arrive at your point, then you can point. So it's like, hey, well, you're going to need to go left and you're going to go right. And then when you do all those directions, you're going to get there. Something like that. Okay. Let me know if you guys are hanging with me. If these things make sense. Let me know if you are using these things. See what I'm trying to do with the pointing here. Okay. Another thing that you can do, we just talked about like talking about like a process. So like if you're describing like a process or there's multiple steps to something, you can kind of have that like almost like blender sort of movement. Another way that you can do to introduce an idea, because maybe there's something new that you're talking about. Well, another way you can do it is you can kind of do like a rainbow. Or maybe you arrive at the final point of everything. Or maybe you just gave this really long talk or you're having this discussion with someone and you're getting close to the end. Well, then you can do this, signify, hey, we're back. We're back at the start. We've reached the end. Things like that. See a question here, pointing by open hand, kind of like this. Yeah, I mean, that's actually a very common teaching strategy. I know some of us are teachers. Z, I believe you're a teacher, right? And so this is something you can see a lot, like comparing like beginner teachers versus more advanced teachers. A lot of beginner teachers do a lot of pointing. When you see teachers who are more experienced, again, kind of more awareness of how students respond to different gestures, pointing with an open palm, like what do you think? You can do that, like for instance, if you're in a group of people too, and you want to get one specific person's idea. You don't want to be like, what do you think? No, you can be like, hey, like what do you think? It feels a lot less aggressive with an open palm up. 100%. A lot of the stuff with hand gestures, I hope you're starting to realize is that, how do I put this? Like, you're really just trying to imitate what you're doing. Like, if this side is doing one thing, then the other side is going to do the other thing. Okay, if you're saying one thing, your body's doing the same thing. It's something that does any sort of mirroring. Okay, and when the body doesn't copy, you know, if your body, no, so I'm talking about my body now, so I'm going to indicate my body. If your body is not communicating the same idea as your words, then there's a problem. So like there may not even be set gestures, but for instance, again, even if you don't necessarily understand me, like your body does not copy what it is that your lips are doing. I was just mumbling right there, but you can still kind of get the idea of what I'm communicating. You know, I indicate my body work, and then indicating talking about my lips are saying my speech. So we're just trying to kind of imitate the words that we're saying. Gesture. It's almost like doing in a made-up sign language. Okay. Let's keep rolling. Sorry, I know we had a spike. So again, basically we're just trying to use our body to imitate the things we're saying. Use your body to imitate your words. That's our goal. Some other things you can do. So with that in mind, so for instance, if you're talking about something big, it's like, whoa, it's like really, really big. Or if something is small, you'd be like, whoa, it's like really small. Or you can do like, it's really small and things like that. Notice that you can also get your face involved with this too. Like for small, I might do like, it's really small, like winking, like it's really, really small. Okay, you can also imitate with your voice as well. Like you make your voice really small. Versus like if something's really big, like I might go, shock expression, like really big. So these are just little things that you want to be considering as well. Okay, how can your body imitate what you're doing? You can also, like, if you have different groups of people. So for instance, maybe on the one hand we have this one group of people who are over here, but then on the other hand we have this other group of people. And then what we want to do is we want to bring them together. See what I just did? So you have one concept over here, you have one concept over here. Let's combine it. You have your speech from your mouth, you have your body language. Let's combine them to create a more cohesive whole in our communication. See what I'm doing? Can you do this too? What are some other things that we can do with our body? Okay. Well, let's talk a little bit about emotions. So like if you want to convey, for instance, that like maybe you have some let's just do some quick hand gestures for different emotions. Like if you're frustrated, it's like that is often the sign of like frustration, like you're trying to compose yourself. Or like if something's really exciting, like wow, like you're going out, wow. Or if it's like if you're angry, this is where like hands across your chest. That angle's kind of bad, a little blocked off, but like doing that can suggest like some anger. It can also suggest you're trying to go small and defensive. Okay, so just little things like that for emotions. If you're thinking, or if you're really surprised by something, or if you're really curious, you'd be like, So the next time you're really thinking, just take a moment to like kind of put your hand maybe by your forehead. Just like, You can also do things with your lips. Watch what I do with my lips. Something's not right. Okay, get your whole body involved in what you're communicating. Your body is a mirror of your speech. If something feels really important to you, if something is really close to you, okay, things like guys, this is really important to me. Okay, what am I doing? I'm putting my hand on my chest. Like, hey, what I'm talking about right now, this is really important. I need you to listen. Okay? Like, this is really important to me. I need you to listen. Listen. Right? I can also use this to communicate, for instance, separation between so if this is something that I do in my speech. This is something that I'm thinking about when I communicate. What are you doing? What are you doing? It's something that I do. What are you doing with this? Turning into Harry Potter. This is true for most of the language cultures. Italian use hand gestures too much. It's bad. When I was in Italy, I had several Italians be like, "Wow, you use your hands a lot." I thought that was always really funny when that happened. Yeah, as Harrier says, this is fundamental in any language or culture. But here's the thing. What I see commonly with students, and it's harder online, but I notice this in person, is that a lot of us are not expressing ourselves to the maximum ability that we could, and maybe now is the time to kind of change that. Okay, I just want you to, next time you have a conversation, I'd like you to be aware of what your hands are doing, because look, if I do a live stream like this is how I'm going to do the entire live stream. I'm just going to keep my hands at my side and talk to you guys the whole time. This experience, it's not very enjoyable for you, most likely, and it's also not very enjoyable for me. Okay, because it's just, you lose a level of connection. It's like listening with one ear. So we really want to try to get our body as involved as possible, because I think the other thing you're going to feel too is that when you don't get your body involved, and I'm feeling it right now, is that you lose a lot of that energy and you feel disconnected from the things you're saying. It's harder to tie in emotion to what you're saying when you don't get your body involved. It's hard to do it. So my challenge for you is to do this. What I'd like you to do for your homework assignment is I'd like you to think of a story that has some sort of emotion tied to it from your life. Okay, if you can't think of an emotional story from your life, it can be happy, sad, frustrating, whatever it is. If you can't think of one, you can go, for instance, to look at like a fairy tale. And I want you to just kind of read the fairy tale out loud or tell your story. I would record yourself. So you want to like get yourself on video, kind of like what we're doing right now. And watch the video and turn off the volume. Okay, watch the video and turn off the volume, because what is that going to do is you're going to be forced to kind of watch your body. And hopefully, by watching yourself, you can kind of get an idea of what's happening in the story. You know, you can tell when the bad guy arrives, or you can tell where the point of frustration arrives, or you can tell when everyone is safe and it's a happy ending again. You can tell all those things. Okay, watch your body, record yourself, turn off the volume, and just see what is your body communicating about what you're saying. And then the question is, how can you amplify it? Can you go from like this level a little higher? That's my challenge for you. All right, guys, I do have to run, but do let me know if you have any questions for me. I do see we have one
Question.
here. What is voiceover? Voiceover is like, for instance, if you see something happening on screen and then you hear someone's voice, and you don't see the person talking, you just hear their voice, but you do see something on screen. That is voiceover work. Any idioms in English linked with hands or gestures? That's a good question. Thank you for asking.
Question.
Yes. Like phrases, or like just more like common hand gestures and things like that. Some common gestures you should be aware of in English, I think. You know, like thumbs that you ones you probably heard before. Okay. Oh, they're looking for like specific phrases. Um, I imagine there are, but I wouldn't offhand without doing research. I wouldn't be able to kind of just rattle them off. Unfortunately, I'm sorry. Um, but some common things you'll see, like for instance, like thumbs up means something is good. Thumbs down is something bad. Um, if, for instance, you see this a lot with like teenagers, if you want to, this is rude, by the way. Like if someone says something that like you don't agree with, or maybe it's something that you want to show some frustration, the eye rolling is really common. Just like, oh my gosh, I can't believe they did that, or something like that. Like it's not a nice thing to do. I wouldn't do that to your boss or to someone you have a good relationship with. Wouldn't want to do that. Um, if times, for instance, if you're saying hi to someone, it's like something you may see. People may not say hi or how are you or something like that. They may just like kind of just do like a little head raise, like, hey, you know. Or you could also do like a head down, just like a little nod to acknowledge the other person's existence. That's a very common thing on the street. Other things I can think of on the spot. If you don't know the answer to something, shrugging. Shrugging is really, really common where you just kind of raise your shoulders. Sorry, don't have an answer. Don't know what to do. Okay. Another thing too is if you're having a conversation and you're noticing that like you need to kind of regain people's focus, one thing you can do is just like, you know, be talking, but then be like, you know what, I gotta move it. So one of the things is you saw what I did there, talking but then clapping, because what that does is it introduces a pattern disrupt to draw people's attention back to you. If I think of some other ones, I'll be sure to talk about them in the future, but hopefully this is at least enough to get you guys started. All right, just one final reminder. This actually is going to tie in well to a workshop that we're doing. So at the end of the month, we're doing a workshop called Pro Pitch Mastery. Just to let you know, it's on the 20th. It's on the 27th. A few seats left. I forget which one. One of these dates only has 3 seats left in the classroom. The other one has 4 seats left in the classroom. So if you are eager for a spot, we would love to have you. We're going to be looking at how comedians specifically use pitch, although comedians also have to use a ton of body language in order to communicate with their audiences. So I'd love to kind of touch on that in the workshops as well. So if that sounds like something you're interested in on June 27th or on June 20th, you want to work with me for an hour and a half on trying to improve your use of pitch in order to communicate more effectively. And these are things that you can also probably apply to your first language as well. I'd love to work with you. Hour and a half, you get the workshop, and then as a bonus, you also get access. You'll get an MP4 and MP3 version of both workshops, even if you just attend one. Okay? So I'd love to work with you that. If you have questions about that, be sure to let me know. You can go to fluentamerican.com for more info on that. Otherwise, I'll see you all later. Once again, thanks for being with us. There's a million pronunciation resources out there, so the fact you spent some time with me is greatly, greatly appreciated. Once more, my name is Jeff. It rhymes with breath. It's one of the 4 keys to a natural sound American English: including placement, pitch, breath. Trying to weaken those consonant sounds, strengthen your vowels. I will see you all later. Have a good day. Have a good night. Have a good afternoon.